But the one I want to talk about most specifically is Warden's, and he talks about the 4 tasks of mourning. So he eliminates the notion of stages like it's sequential or happening in order. And he says that there's 4 big things we really need to go through. Now, the acceptance will look familiar to you, because we know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talked about that as an eventual thing. But you got to accept the reality of the loss. The second thing is to experience and work through the pain of the grief. 3 is to adjust to the new normal, or life without whatever it was that was lost. And 4 is to emotionally relocate the loss and move forward in life. Now, the stages are not prescriptive. They're not necessarily going to happen in order. They're not discrete tasks. They don't happen one and then the other. And more than one of them can be happening at the same time. So let's tear apart their Warden's model and learn a little bit more about it. Talk about the first thing in terms of accepting reality. Come full face with the fact that your loss is real and will not return. It is not returnable. I'm not going to make it to work on time today. The keys are gone. So-and-so is past now, and it's not going to happen. The immediate reunion of regaining it is impossible. Now, what is very interesting about this particular feature of Warden's model is when you start talking about things like romantic relationships, the relationship is broken. There is a real loss. But if one of the partners is sort of holding out for, well, maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe he'll call me again. Maybe we'll get back together. The loss is never properly grieved initially. You keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And if you get people who talk about being stuck in an old relationship, is that they've not accepted the fact that it's over and done. You know? And obviously people go through various stages in that process. But if it is over and done in one person's mind, it may take a while for the second person to get to that place. But denying the facts, denying the meeting, oh, it wasn't a good job anyway, I don't miss him, I'm just as healthy as I ever was. I mean, oh, it's no big deal. That's part of the ways we might prevent the acceptance. The second one, in terms of experiencing and working through the pain, it's impossible to lose something or someone that you have been deeply attached to without experiencing some level of pain. So it's like, we got to talk about the pain. You can't run from it. You know, I talked about the pain I experienced at my grandmother's funeral, the loss, pardon me, at the music from my grandmother's funeral some years later, okay, because the pain had been pushed off and set to the side. But if you don't allow yourself to feel, and sometimes that's frightening. Oh, God, this is like such a big piece. If I let myself feel it, will I ever come back? And the answer is yes, you will. You don't want to do it alone. You don't want to do it all at once. But you want to do it. You want to get into it. Some people find journaling very helpful because it starts to formulate the questions for them. When I take the time to get the thoughts written on the page, I've slowed the thoughts down enough so that the pen slows me down to the point where, oh, that's the question I really need to deal with. Oh, that's what's really bothering me. Like, we don't always get that because we're thinking so fast sometimes. Take the time to journal. I really encourage folks to do that as a vehicle to get in touch with that. Third is to look for the new normal, coming to terms with being without, maybe raising children alone, facing future unemployment or handicap, redefinition. But what's the new normal now? If you've ever talked to a parent who has a handicapped child, when they realized at some point that the child was handicapped, the amount of adjustment is dramatic because they have all of these expectations for the future that are usually going to be different now, dramatically different. And that's not the task that a lot of people signed up for. And yet it's the real task that's in front of them. They talk about external, internal, and spiritual adjustments. In other words, how do you get to the normal? How has the loss affects your everyday functioning in the world? I mean, if it's somebody that you lived with, it changes tons of things in your everyday world. Internal adjustments, how does that affect your sense of self? You know, do you no longer see yourself as a married partner? Do you no longer see yourself as a parent? And how does the loss affects your beliefs, your values, your assumptions about the world? Obviously, you could promote your own helplessness. And we could do that by refusing to learn new skills, by refusing to take on new roles. So that would be Warden's third task. And then the fourth task he identifies is emotionally relocating. That's to find a place for what was lost that will enable us to remain connected with it, but in a way that will not keep us from going on with life. As you start to think about, we continue to weave the tapestry of our lives. We're connected to the lost, but we're still engaged in life. We're being vulnerable in a healthy way. We can form new attachments and relationships and skills. As I said, the absolute key indicator that I'm healthfully handling a big loss is that I'm making new attachments. Proceeding forward.